You don't even know the
You
things I
wake
got to
up on the
deal
wrong
with Joe.
side of the.
No, it's not that. It's not. Let me explain something to y'all. Let me talk to y'all because we're like family around here. Okay, I ship things for as a part of what I do all the time. I sell gloves. I sell cues. I sell t-shirts, anything stuff pool related that you can think of, I sell. And part of selling when you do it online is you have to package it up, you have to ship it. And then there's steps within that process that you have to do. Get shipping information, go to the shipping department, go to the shipping place, wherever you're going to go to. You have to mail it out, confirm addresses, confirm payments, all these things. Here's the deal with Joey. We got these balls signed by Efren. I said, Joey, you're going to need to pick him up in Arizona. And when I left the Derby, I said, I don't want Joey to get them because it's going to be a headache with him. I already know. I wanted to get them before I left the Derby, but I didn't get them from Jamie. So what happens? I'm going to vent here for a minute, and then you guys can bill me later. Then what happens is Joey picks up the balls. Finally, after a week, and this is what happens. Hey, Mike, what kind of packaging should I get? Okay, bye. 2 minutes later. Hey, Mike, what kind of tape should I use? Okay, bye. Hey, Mike, should I go to this post office or the UPS store around the corner? Okay, bye. Then my phone. Hey, Mike, should we? I mean, every little
It's not my
detail,
skill set.
every little detail, Joey is blowing up my phone to ask for help. Right now, we're trying to sort things out. I'm telling Joey, I got a hard time. I got to be out of here. He wants to go over it. And here's the other thing is that we discuss something. I think we're good. And then Joey wants to have a conversation about it three more times later, a couple of hours later, instantly putting me on tilt.
Wow.
Anyway, anyway, I'm
I
done.
don't know what to do, Melina.
I'm
And
done venting.
Freedom Watson says, "Good morning, good morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing okay." Melina, did we lose our chat? Like, why are we not seeing chats in here?
No, probably because of this logo you got up. It's not clear. That's
Oh,
probably it's black.
oh, there we go.
Oh,
It's
there they
coming
are.
in now.
Okay.
Yeah, but welcome to the Doggin It Show. We just got a short show for you guys this morning. We want to preview a few things, talk to you about some of the events coming up, some of the things going on, kind of like a little weekly update. And I think we have a chance. I didn't tell you this yet, Melina, because you're too busy bitching and moaning. But I think we might
Today.
get Ozzy on tonight to preview the CSI Expo. And I know I talked to him yesterday on Messenger, and I know that they started setting up for the event. So it's kind of tenuous.
That's
We're gonna have
that,
to
that's
because it's a
exciting.
yeah, it's a big undertaking. So we're gonna have to see if he's available. But I did tell him the later the better tonight, and we'd make ourselves available so that we could chat about what's going on. So
Well, then let's just hold off on previewing that and you know wait till we get him on. Everything else, so we can still go over.
all right,
Yeah,
well, switch us over to the 3-person, Mikey. Let's do this, and we'll bring this one up. Uh, Dogging it. There we go.
well,
All
give me a
right.
heads up here, boy. Give me a
Sorry,
heads up
I,
here,
I
son.
took care of it. Hey, Corby's up early this morning. What's up? So, yeah, let's talk about the Premier League pool. One of my favorite events because of the fact that um, it's more of a round robin format. It's kind of an elimination system that they have. You get to see a ton of pool over the course of pretty much like a week. And I just love it. I keep the matches on, kind of watch them on the side while I'm doing my regular stuff during the day, trying to ship stuff out because I'm the ship master.
Dude,
But
you've literally mailed three things in like a year. A year.
yeah, but the roster came out. At least part of the roster. It looks like they have 12 players selected out of the 16 players.
A lot of big names left off there, Joe. A lot of big names not on that list.
Yeah, and there's also some names on there that I was kind of surprised about. Like it seems like Matchroom's riding the Earl Strickland thing. They invited him back to this event. Curious to get your thoughts on that one, Mikey.
Well, I mean, they gotta get people watching. You know, they're they're not. And I think Emily came out with a post addressing the list more or less. And I mean, listen, I get it. Earl's still box office. If you don't think so, go look at their numbers. I'm sure from the Mosconi Cup because I bet you that had a big influence as to why Earl's on here. As to why Earl made the Mosconi Cup this past year. You know, it was nothing like it. People want to see him. People want to watch him. Um, and he still has a chance. I feel like to have some magic happen because I thought he played, halfway decent during that event as well.
I think this is absolutely the wrong type of format for Earl Strickland. And here's what I mean. We saw at Moscone, he even talked about it, that he trained really hard for the event, but that he just didn't have the stamina. He shared that in a few interviews
It's a good
where
point.
we're looking at it over the course of what the 4-day Moscone Cup, he was drained. And this is a real test. We saw the when Albin won this thing, it's not just about playing pool. It's playing a lot of pool at a high level, keeping your focus and concentration over the course of a week. It's a lot of pool. So I think Earl's going to struggle with that unless he comes in the best shape of his life. So we'll see. He does 2,500 sit-ups a day. So
A day. I was there at the Moscone Cup when I went to the gym one morning, and there he was doing his sit-ups. Like,
tell everybody though, were they authentic all the way down, all the way up sit-ups, or were
hell,
they
he's on
mini
a
crunches?
he's on a bench, right?
Okay.
So imagine like the bench is flat, and then he's just down, flat on the bench, up, like just sitting straight up. Knees
And his
not,
feet are on the floor?
yeah. So like the bench is flat, knees are the feet are flat on the ground, and then he's just sitting up.
You know what? I'm not gonna knock him because I probably can't do 10 of those these days.
The
But
funniest part though was whenever like it was all Europeans were in there because this is like at 6 7 in the morning, right? So the entire European team is in there minus I think Josh. And anyway, Laylee's doing cardio. And when you're working out, you don't want to be bothered. You just get your
yeah,
headphones in. You just want to work out, do your thing. And Earl and Laylee are in next to each other, and you can see Earl just chirping in his ear, like just bitching about something, like over and over again. I'm like, yo, leave that man alone. Let him work out. But
jeez.
it's Earl though. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, what about the rest of the lineup, Mike? There's some interesting ones.
Well, no, you
Uh,
brought up a great point. I want to just follow up on that for a minute because you brought up a great point when it comes to Earl, and you're right. It's not a young man's format. Even though they're short races, like I think, and I don't know how it's going to be this year, but there were times I think where they were playing for not like all the way through, but you're starting and you're playing through 8 hours plus.
yeah. Well,
Um,
it's
that's
a
not
lot
for
of
a young.
pool.
That's not for a young man. I mean, for an older man, and you ought to know because you're up there, son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Let's
up
take a look at
there.
the format. I don't know how well it's going to show up here, but I can see it pretty good, so that's all that matters. But 16 players face each other once across 5 days of play. After day 5, the bottom 6 in the league table are eliminated. So you're left with 10 players who then play each other through days 6 and 7, and then 4 more players are eliminated. Then the remaining 6 play once more on day 8, and then 4 contenders, and I guess they do single elimination from there once
I
they
would
get
have paid
to
attention to you.
semifinals. So it doesn't specify. Oh wait, all group matches are a race to 5, alternate break.
So listen, this is the Moscone Cup boot camp. If you're Earl, then if you want to get in there again for this year and pick up another 15,000, here's your chance. Beat up some big names or kind of some big names because there's a lot of guys who aren't there who may make a wild card. You never know, but there's a lot of names that I was real surprised, including the biggest one not seeing is Josh Filler.
Yeah. Well, and Emily did state something. You mentioned it earlier. She kind of differentiated between the Whirlpool Masters and Premier League Pool, and basically saying that the Premier League Pool gives us an opportunity to showcase players that you might not see in the Whirlpool Masters, whereas the Whirlpool Masters is going to be the top 16 or the top 14 in a couple wild cards. So, I'm curious, do you think that it was their actual strategy, or do you think that's the messaging after maybe some top players turn this event down?
I don't see why they would turn it down because you know you gain a lot more favor. I feel like when you're flexible. Plus, you're getting showcased unlike any other. I mean, you talk about 16. That's not a lot of players, and you're gonna get a lot of coverage time, which makes you a lot more valuable to sponsors. There's just a number of different avenues that where it just doesn't make any sense to turn it down, unless from a logistics standpoint, it just doesn't fit with your schedule, right? I like how they're showcasing different players, but I feel like there's also a missed opportunity where they could really make this fun as far as what players they're selecting. Uh, maybe even like a draw format. Put a bunch of players in a hat and say, "Hey, let's go live and let's see who's going to get picked." I mean, they
Like a
do.
lottery?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, they do that for. the NBA draft, right? And people tune in and watch from all over the world. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I think one of the challenges they have though, Mike, is, when they do that, if they were to do that and they draw a name, what if that player can't make it then?
well, but of course you were to verify ahead of time if they're going to be available.
Do like an interest list? Get
Yeah,
like
well, no, I mean, like, listen, you have to be available. We're not gonna do this whole song and dance, and then afterwards you're like, nah, I can't make it. Like, you better be able to make it. So, I feel like that's a big part of that whole thing. But you know, it's interesting because you no Josh, you have three Americans, which I think Shane and Sky make a lot of sense. Earl makes a lot of sense to from a different angle, but then when you have some big names off, no Mario He, no Kazakis come to mind. I think it was, what do we say, Joe? Like 6 out of the top 10 weren't
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we did say that.
yeah, no Taiwanese players. Oh no, I'm sorry. Besides Wu Kun
Woo.
Lin, no
Yeah.
no Co brothers. Um, it's just a lot of surprises. My guy Max Lechner, I don't know how he got snubbed. Besides the fact that I think he came in dead last year playing this event. Um, he couldn't make a ball, so that part I can see that makes a little bit of sense. Although I love you, Max. Um, but outside of that, it's real surprising. And we've talked with Mike before, and he likes these events being differentiated, and so I like the idea of throwing different players in the mix. But I think like you could have just made it a little bit more fun, you know.
Yeah, they're hey, look, match rooms are always improving. They're always doing things different, changing things up. So maybe that's a good idea that they'll take for next year and have kind of a more interesting way to select these players. I think it would be kind of neat. So, hey,
Well,
Steve,
yeah.
we'll
I
see
mean,
you.
imagine you
Thanks.
got, imagine you got like a Joey Tate or something, right?
Yeah,
And you're gonna have a draw, right? Some other young players, few players from across the globe. A guy who else do fans really like root for? Like a guy like Billy,
yeah,
right? And I don't mean to just name Americans here, but imagine having all these guys confirm that they can make it, throw them in a hat. Imagine people are gonna be tuning in to watch that to see if their guy makes it in. You
yeah.
know,
Well, this. I was thinking this goes back to a debate that we had on Patreon the other morning. If you guys aren't following us on Patreon and you'd like to check it
shameless
out
plug,
every day, yeah, every day we put up content on there,
we
and
do.
normally we just debate a topic, and our topic was women professional or women players and men players. Why, when seemingly there's no real um, advantage for males, why are there so many more strong male players and female players? So we debated that topic, but that would be an interesting one here, Mike. Is try to get some of those top Asian females in this event, see how they fare against the
I
men.
believe that originally, I don't know if it was last year, or the year before, but Kelly was in
Kelly
in
was
this
in
event.
here.
Kelly was in the event. So, see, I would love to have that as well. Make it really untraditional, and just see what happens. But listen, there's a lot of guys who are getting opportunity. Sanjin's had a really big, last year and a half, winning the European Championships, the 10 ball, and I want to say the 9 ball as well. Well, one of them he lost to Josh, I think, uh, dogging it when he was on the hill. I think it was a 9 ball. But he's a young star that I see on the rise. And now that I think about it, Victor's not there either. Wow. Khalid, who won the SVB Open, that
Mm.
kid's got a bright future. He's already playing. It seems like really tough. He looks like he's real mentally strong. He's also, a Johan Reisnick student, so the kid can play and play well. I think getting him, on bigger stages is going to be key. Plus the fact of where he's out of, Joe. And we've already seen a lot of big names come from the Middle East. I feel like that region is just exploding right now
They
when it comes from a talent standpoint. And
they
so
must
the
be doing something right there. To have so many top players coming from there now. We talk about what we see from Poland. So many top players coming from Poland these days. We know they're
right,
doing something right, and I think you're right, Mike. I think the Middle East is starting to really thrive as a pool community, and I think we're going to see even more names from there start
there's
to
a
do
lot of money over
big
there, Joe.
things.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of money in that region. So that event, because it's been mentioned before when you see that kid play. I think he took home six figures for a second place finish on an at an invitational tournament there in, I don't know if it was Qatar, somewhere in the Middle East. Um, Takes home six figures for second place, and from what I heard uh, from my contact out there, was that this year's tournament was going to be invitational again, but it was going to be opened up to a lot of top pros. So
Mm.
um, imagine if we get some monster names out there vying for, a $150,000 payday or whatever it was.
You know what I'd
Um,
love to see, Mikey? Let me tell you what I'd love to see. So you know those stake horses that tend to like kind of throw their money around. Oh, he'll play you for 10K, not a dime less, stuff like that. I'd love to see them like go up to Khalid or something, and he have one of a chic backer or something, and they get high rolled, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll play you for 2.5 million, and one of those stake horses is like, oh,
yeah.
I'd love to see that. That'd be fun.
Well, yeah, that would take high roll into a whole different level in the pool
Yeah, it
world. That's for
would.
sure. Um, That'd
Uh,
be pretty strong though, and I like.
yeah.
I think it's very big picture of Matchroom in that regard. Having some of these players from different regions that are in, you're hitting different markets. You're going to get more eyes watching in different parts of the world, which is vital. And you still have a good mix of Vogue names in there as well. And a lot of these guys do make sense. It's just some of the ones left off are like, man,
Yeah, I
filler.
mean,
I mean, filler ain't that far off the radar, man. The guy just switched to damn Revo, and all of a sudden he's like
can't get invited to
he
VLP.
probably listen a year ago. Tell me he wouldn't have been a top three player on this list.
Hey, so that's why I asked you, do you think it's more the messaging from Matchroom if players turn them down? So you're saying that players wouldn't turn them down, but I could see Josh turning down an invitation to this
Hell
because
no.
no,
Why
here's
is it?
why. No, let me finish. So we just saw Josh in the World Championship struggle with the new shaft, with the Revo shaft, going back to the Revo, right? So for a guy that plays at his level, I could see him easily saying, you know what, I'm going to take a month off and I'm going to get tuned in with this shaft. To me, that's more realistic than seeing maybe a lower level player who, hey, this might be their big break or their big chance to get exposure. I could see Josh turning it down. I don't know if it happened. I mean, we're completely speculating here. But one of the things about this event and this player list and Matchroom's messaging from it is
And
it's
he
kind
still
of,
may make the list, by the way, because there's four wild
yeah,
cards
there's
down
four
there.
wild cards, but it's kind of contrary to what Matchroom's been doing over the last couple of years, which is trying to be transparent with how players are selected for the events and trying to be systematic about it. And so I think you're right. I think next year, I have no problem with this player list. I think it's cool. I want to see some of these players. I want to see Khalid play. I want to see him compete
As do
against,
I. Yeah.
yeah, some of these, a Shane or an Albin or somebody like that. But I think going into next year, I think you're right. There could be some more of a systematic type of entry in
Well,
this. In fact, what you could do, you could actually do it by region. You could have X amount of players from North America, X amount of players from Asia, X amount of players
we
from.
sound we sound like a bunch of pool players who are saying, "Let me tell you how to run your tournament director." You
Well,
know,
of course, that's what pool players do.
every time, every single time. I think like there's a balance there, and I think what they're trying to get rid of is, listen, we don't want this to be the same group of guys you're going to see soon in the World Pool
Whirlpool Master.
Masters in May,
Yeah.
right? So we want to have a way to kind of change it up, to separate it and let it be its own event with its own unique cast of characters, or a good balance between like maybe these new stars or up and coming stars, or guys who are on the radar, and give them an opportunity, which I love, by the way. And they're going to get a lot of pool on TV, right?
It's kind
Um,
of tricky because if you say we're not going to take the players we're going to leave the top 16 alone because they're going to be in the Whirlpool Masters and do the rest. Well, then where do they get the draw, the fan appeal, right? You still need the Shanes and the FSRs and
right.
a few of those sprinkled in, so people are like, "Wow, I'm going to check out this match with FSR. He's the hottest player on the planet right now." So
I mean, everybody loves stories. So you give a guy a swing, you never know what could happen. I mean, Albin was dead to rights the year that he won, or the
yeah.
second year he won, rather, because he won both years.
Well, and then I want
And
to say last year Sky was like he looked like he was unstoppable at one point. Didn't he beat I want to
no,
say he beat like two or three great players to make it.
I think it came down to like his last match to make it into the final, like
Final four.
into the final, and then he lost that last match. But
Yeah.
there's there's uh there's a lot of fun things that could happen. Some Cinderellas that could come through, outside of big names. It's race to nine. I'm sorry, race to five, nine ball, and you're playing group settings. So when we listen, you see a guy like Max Caliber, lose the way he did. I think he maybe won a match out of everything he played. So
Yeah.
funky things can kind of happen. I'd imagine they're going to be playing on 4-inch pockets, which is going to make those races to five really interesting. It'll make for a lot of gambling if you're into that kind of thing. um, and yeah, I mean there's a lot of pluses I feel like to take away from it. And I see a comment in there about Sanjin's dad managing the Balkan tour. That may be the case, but I don't think that's why the kid gets in. The kid's been playing great pool. I mean,
It's top shelf.
number he's probably number 6 or 7 on the European list, maybe a top 8 player, just from a European depth standpoint. So that kid on his own merit and what he's accomplished in the last year and a half stands up with it. The fact that they're managing something that's working with Matchroom, I don't feel like gives him any kind of favor, because he's been able to stand up tall on his own. Just my opinion.
I like Wired Space comment there about, Earl would make sense if Efren was also selected. I'd love to see Efren be one of those wild cards. I think that would be pretty cool after what he put together at Derby.
I mean, you want to talk about people tuning in.
Oh yeah,
Imagine if something funny happened. You have those two in there, and somehow or another,
they
the
make the
two
final.
the two old men, manage to battle the way through and end up playing for a final. You want to talk about eyes watching, son? That
Yeah.
thing will just blow up with views. You know,
All right. So real quick, Mike, let's do this. You get 2 picks. I get 2 picks. I'll let you get the first pick. Let's pick winners for this thing. Out of what's there so far, obviously there's 4 wild cards we don't know about. You go
Hmm.
first.
How are you just gonna put me on the spot like that? Well, I'm gonna go very Joey Ryan like in this one because
Don't
um,
you take them. Don't you take
No, 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 no. I am this time. I got a lot of grief. It was
them.
funny because we were just going live with my man Francisco, and we were doing our audio tests and our video tests, and everything's looking good. And I forgot how it came up, and he says, "Yeah, Joey, thanks for picking me because I watched that show." And then I swear I see him look over at me, and I'm like, "I almost
Yeah.
had you, son. I almost
Yeah.
had you."
He's very
So
disappointed in
I,
the fact that you didn't pick him.
I said save it for the show, man. So but I'm gonna take him this time, the hottest player on earth,
FSR.
FSR. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going with Albin Ocean for the three-peat.
Wow. I can't believe you didn't pick that means I'm gonna get. Oh, I thought for sure you were gonna be taking Sky. You kind of you pulled the wool off from underneath me there. I'm gonna go. Boy. Well, I mean, listen, I
Oh,
can't.
wait, we're snaking. It snakes back. I get 2. All right, I'll
What?
take my second pick. I'll take Jason Shaw.
Wow. Why do you just don't like America, huh, son? You
No, of
just no,
course. I
no,
always pick America.
no. That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised. Um, okay, then I guess you go with.
Guys, hey, for those of you tuning in, love to hear who you like in this event in the chat. So hit it up. And we see you guys, we see your comments in there. Folks from all over, fellas from Ontario. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting the show. Appreciate it. Let me see who you guys like. Who you got, Mike?
Uh, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with SVB then.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
give
So
me Shane.
basically, you only go with people that have 3 initials, FSR and SVB. Is that
Hey,
what you're doing here?
for the WIN. That's right. Okay.
It's different. It doesn't work
Yeah,
that
no,
way.
no, no. I like and listen, I think those wild cards are going to be pretty stacked as well. Wild cards who I feel like can win the event. If my man Mario would have been in there, I probably would have picked Mario to be honest with you, because I do think that he's, despite him losing in that quarterfinals or semifinals, whatever, or semifinals to Francisco, I still feel like he's got a top 5 break in this format.
Yeah.
So it just lends itself to him, you know, consistently being in the mix if he's playing with this, cut break in the box type event. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see who those next 4 are going to pick. And plus, I like the fact that they're building it up. I mean, you're a few weeks out. We're going to pepper you a little bit here with some names, and then we're going to get people just excited and at the edge of their seat as well.
That is
So
a neat little concept. You got 4 wild cards they haven't announced yet. They could be Filipino, they could be Taiwanese, they could be American, European. We have no idea. And so a name could pop in there that you or I would have taken in one of our 2 picks. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, and I'm
well,
excited to
yeah. I mean,
see
tell me you wouldn't consider like a filler.
or a co, or
Yeah,
yeah, or a Carlo Beato or somebody like that. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So, all right. So that's our discussion about Premier League pool. Let's move on to another topic. Big event going on in Texas right now. I thought it was a Texas Open. I was even calling it that, but then you corrected me. It's the Skinny Bobs Classic, I think. They're playing one pocket right now. It looks like they're down to the final 4 there. And Roland Garcia plays Roberto Gomez, and Fedor Gors plays Raid Shabib. So, thoughts on that event?
I mean, Federer's being Federer. On those type of tables, he's always going to be a favorite. But it does, I feel like, open itself up to, y- you know, outside of traditional one pocket players can make the list. You know, Roberto's won at Skinny Bob's before. You know, there was a Texas Open, but it was still a big one pocket event. That Calcutta is super soft. I mean, like real soft. You're buying a guy for 1,000 for a blind bid, which is just crazy. For the life of me, I don't understand why you have one pocket Calcuttas on on a Tuesday night in Texas when it's historically low as it is. Um, they just don't make any sense, especially when you have things that are available online. That you
Mm.
could reach people from literally all over the country.
Is this your
Um,
shameless plug for your online Calcuttas? Is that what we're seeing
no,
here?
it's not. I mean, like I didn't do one for this event because
Oh,
it's
okay.
it, it's uh it's real top heavy.
Yeah.
It's Federer would have been number one. Alex probably would have been number two. There's no Tony there, and uh, it probably would have been Roberto. I'm trying to think of who else. Maybe a Chip, and then Roland. Probably in that list who would have gotten picked. But outside of that, it's real tough. To
I
to,
like
to find a
Roberto.
winner.
I like Roberto to get there in this one pocket. I think he just beat Federer in a final. I think he beat him 4-0. And he may have unlocked something. Like you said, we know he plays as Skinny Bobs. Obviously he's in Houston, but he's just down the road. And he does play well at Skinny Bobs. I think he won the Texas Open one pocket 2 years ago or 3 years ago when I met you there.
I had
And
him in the Calcutta that year.
yeah, you and Nick had him in the Calcutta.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go with Roberto to close this out and win the one pocket event there. I think it's kind of interesting. By the way, for the 9-ball event, one of the big questions, I think, intriguing stories is could Roland Garcia win that event? He's won the last 2 pretty decent sized events down there in the South, the Cajun Coast Classic and the Bayou State Classic. So he's going for 3 in a row. He must be playing exceptional pool right now.
Roland's a very good player, real solid player, but you're going from 2 bar box wins to a 9 foot table win. So I'm not gonna. I mean, is he capable? Without a doubt, he is. But um, I and for that matter, I feel like it's a lot tougher to have success on the bar table, consistent success. Um, so congratulations to him for that. I know it wasn't like the biggest of fields out of either one of those events, but um, the guy can always hit a stride. He's used to being called Mr. Runner Up or Mr. Bridesmaid, so it's good to see Roland get there and win a final. Um, yeah, I mean, you know how it is, man. When you win one, things can kind of open up for you. I don't know if those are the ones that are gonna make the dam burst, but Roland's an easy dude to root for. He's like just a good guy. Always with a smile on his face, good
Yeah.
disposition. Yeah, I mean, how can you not root for him? But it's gonna be tough. I mean, you got if you're looking at that players list, it's going to be a lot of those same guys you see there in the final, the one pocket,
Yeah. Federer.
and you're still going to have to get through Federer. There was a young kid in Cash Keaton who beat Federer the last Texas Open that we had last year in the 9-ball as well. So let's see, if that kid can go on a run. Um, a few other names kind of come to mind, like Alex, who I think got sent to the one loss side in the one pocket by Tommy. But Alex could make a run. We've seen him play some great 9-ball pool lately, right? So
Well,
just
I
a
think
lot,
the
lot of
conditions
questions,
there yeah, I think the conditions of Skinny Bob kinda lend themselves to seeing some upsets. The tables play like standard diamonds for the most part.
right?
They're not super tight, and, with the format, at least the year I played with the break format, people were putting some packages together, even players that played my speed. So, uh, I think the environment's conducive to upsets, and so we'll see what happens there. I think it's a pretty interesting story, though, that Roland Garcia snapped off 2 in a
Well,
row. By the way, I
you
think
always have strong regional players that are going to go that
oh,
are going to
yeah.
make a run. Especially with like it's not as I mean it's top heavy, but there's not a ton of like top killer pros. Like there, from a percentage standpoint, there's a far greater number of the everyday players, or
Yeah.
the regional players. So
There's our buddy Lil Chris from YouTube. Lil Chris, are you going down to Skinny Bob's? Curious. See if you'll be down there this weekend playing in the 9 ball. I know
it's gonna
you
be
like to hit up those events.
it's gonna be tough. Yeah, I mean, if I were gonna go, it would be today. But yeah, I don't see myself going. It's
Well, I wasn't asking you. I was asking Little Chris.
oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, asshole. I didn't
We don't
realize you were
really
asking
care
me.
if you go.
Yeah, no, no, no. Little Chris has been out there. Last time I was out there, he was there. So
Yeah. So also, yes, we already talked about PLP. Nate Tam, welcome to the show. You'll have to go back and watch it. You'll also catch a really great intro to this video with Melina Mike bitching and moaning about me. So uh, one other
shocking.
thing we were going to talk about today was the let's see if I can get it up. Whoops. Let's go to this one. I got to get a little quicker on the draw here. We were going to talk about the CSI Expo. Mike and I are making our travel plans. We're going to be out there. We're really excited. We're going to have a little space, I believe, in the rotunda. So, not in the main room there, but right as you walk into the room there. And then hey, come on, Mike. Beggars can't be choosers. And I think we're also going to have a bar box set up right by our booth. And so I'll be taking challenge matches there.
So that means
Uh,
Joey will not be doing anything online,
Nothing related to the show.
and will just be hitting balls for those days he's there. Is what I'm hearing.
You say
This is
that,
what
but you're the
happens.
one
No, 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 wait.
last year that was all over the other
No,
table.
let me tell you something. This is how it happens. We plan out a trip together, right? And maybe see Joey. What Joe like twice a year, maybe two, three
Yeah.
times a year.
Yeah.
And anyway, the usually how it works out is I feel like I'm his wife because the day before he'll be like, "Hey, Mike, I think I'm gonna sign up for that for that 700 and under CSI event." And I'm like, and he's looking at me like almost to ask permission, but not really. He's just telling me he's gonna play, and I don't want to be that guy, right? So I'm like, all right, Joe, yeah, go ahead. And then the next day rolls around, he goes 2 and out, probably like Joey does.
I
I'm
went
kidding.
3 and out
I'm
last year.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I
And
actually I played that event and I lost to a real good player from British Columbia, Lake McKay, 700 player. And then I
I
lost to
see that
some guy
guy
who
in
was like
Sacramento a lot.
yeah, I lost to some guy who was like ridiculously I don't know, he's like a 570 or something, but he tortured me. But I did beat a good young player, Nathan Munoz, and I really appreciated that match because I got to know him a little bit, and he's a really good player out of the Sacramento area, and he's gonna be a player. I
Oh, Nathan
believe
can
that.
play. I saw Nathan at junior nationals.
Yeah.
Nathan's got a really good 10 ball game. Yeah, bright future for that
Playing
kid.
a lot of one pocket too, from
Is
what I
he?
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Nathan a lot, and I interviewed him as a matter of fact on here. I don't think you were here that for that interview, but he's just a good kid,
Yeah.
and he plays jam up. And this is funny. The one of we had a lot of memories from Vegas last year, and one of them was Joey telling the same story, 87 times to every single guest that we had on, and it just it came to a head when we had Shane on
Hey, you gotta
because
make a reel out of that, Mike. That
I
was hilarious.
yeah, that's a good idea actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on that today, so I'm not gonna share the story because I will not do it justice. But I'm gonna go and crop it out. I'm gonna find that
Oh,
interview.
you got these people watching, you gotta tell them what
No,
happened.
no, no. Listen, just follow this. I'll have it up by today. So, it was just hilarious though. Joey, literally every single guest that we had on, Joey told the same story too.
Hey, I'll ask you and I'll ask everybody in here right now. When you make like the shot of your life, don't you tell people about it? I had to tell people about it. So it just so happened Shane was involved. I wasn't playing him, but he was nearby. And so I just had to let him know. I said, "Hey, you remember that shot, right?"
He didn't even remember the state you were talking about that it happened in. No, but let's
Oh, it was hilarious.
like Joey mentioned to start the show, we're gonna have Ozzy on and we're gonna preview the event going out there at the Rio, the BCA National Championships. Um, it's it's probably it's probably my favorite event to go to, just because um, the atmosphere is unlike any other that I've been to in pool. Like
Yeah,
when you walk in there, I mean, it's all things pool, from vendors to league players. You're gonna walk in this big like hangar style room, and every 10 feet you hear a cheer from someone making a strong shot for their team, and guys clapping, and you weed your way through the league part, and then you walk into the pro arena where you just have top tier talent playing 10 ball,
yeah.
and I'm just
Right in the
it's
same room. Right in the same room.
right in the
You
same room.
you
Yep.
you might play your match on one of the corner tables, and then like you might lose and be all depressed, and there's this sachet 20 feet to your right, and boom, you're sitting there.
Sachet.
I don't know.
I don't think anyone's doing any sashaying but you, my
just
man.
just like shuffle over
Yeah,
20 feet to your right, and you're
do it
watching
again.
Albin Ocean play Shea Van Boning. I mean, you can't beat that. So I have it up on the screen right now. It's a little tough to see maybe, but we'll definitely highlight this later with Ozzy. But in case you don't join, in case you're not able to join us later, things kick off on February 22nd on Wednesday. There's a number of amateur events going on, and that's when the Alfa Las Vegas Open starts. There's going to be a lot of pros that are going to be there playing in that event. It's a strong players list because it's followed up by the Predator World 10 Ball. So that's towards the end of the 10, 11 days. So it runs the 22nd through March 4th, and it's at the Rio
It's a
in Las
long event.
Vegas.
It's a long event.
Mini tournaments, tournaments for leagues. If you're not in a league, there's tournaments for that too. You could just play in one of the CSI events. Tons of stuff going on. Melina and I will be there. I'll be there towards the beginning. I'll have to leave a little early. Melina will probably be there for the whole thing because he's just a baller. So,
Definitely not the whole thing, but I'll be there a decent amount.
all right.
Good percentage.
So, hey, I know you got to get to the gym. Thanks for joining us, guys. This early morning session. A little later today, we're going to record our question of the day. We're going to put it up on our Patreon. So, if you guys are not one of our Patreon supporters and you want to catch that daily content, you can check it out right there on patreon.com/dogging it. You like that, Melina? You like that little?
Yeah.
We got to figure out a way to adjust that as that comes up. But, guys, thanks for joining. Have a